Up next in the broadcast, to fulfill her campaign promise to help struggling seniors, President Park is on track to provide close to $200 a month to elderly Koreans in lower income brackets starting next July. After fraying relations with regional neighbors, Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe may have plans to boost his public image at the UN General Assembly. And Iran's president expresses new hope for immediate dialogue with the West on its nuclear program, but calls sanctions against his country as violent. Primetime News begins now.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. It's Wednesday, September 25th here in Korea. Live from Seoul, I'm Yoo Ji-hae.
And I'm Sean Lim. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin with the government's new welfare plan to help senior citizens. As part of President Park's campaign promises, a bill to provide a basic monthly pension for the elderly has been finalized.
But due to the tight fiscal budget, the measure has been scaled down to exclude wealthier seniors. It will be likely the first of many watered-down versions of President Park and his welfare pledges. Our Ojinju reports that could signify another major political setback for the president.
Starting next July, senior citizens aged 65 and older that fall in the lower 70% income bracket will receive up to 200,000 won, or about $186, in basic pension payouts per month. People in the upper 30% income bracket of this age group will receive none. This is part of the government's basic pension bill finalized on Wednesday and scheduled to be submitted at a cabinet meeting presided over by the president on Thursday. However, even for those in the bottom 70%, the amount of pension payout will vary in accordance with how long they have paid into the national pension system. Some may receive as little as $93, while those who have contributed to the system for 11 years or less can receive the maximum $186. In order to fall in the lower 70% income bracket, a senior citizen must earn less than $770 per month. The government explains that more than 90% of the people in the bottom 70% will receive the maximum amount of $186. But the plan is likely to be the target of public and political criticism since it falls short of an earlier pledge to extend $186 in basic pension payments to all citizens aged 65 and older, not just to some. President Park is expected to address the controversial welfare pledges, including the basic pension issue, during Thursday's cabinet meeting, and explain to the public how it was nearly impossible to secure the funds needed to fulfill the goal. Experts predict that she will, however, vow to do her best to achieve her welfare promises by the time her term in office is over. Ojinju, Arirang News.
And some welcome news for the country's local governments. Support measures aimed at helping them generate more revenue and backing their welfare services were released on this Wednesday.
But our Yulian reports it may not be enough to satisfy those with serious budget deficits.
Economic policymakers on Tuesday released a set of measures to support local governments, which have been under a mounting financial burden. The problems that the local governments have worsened since the central government expanded the country's free childcare system and lowered an acquisition tax to revitalize the housing market earlier this year. Now, the central government says it will increase state subsidies for free daycare services by 10 percentage points from its current ratio. That means the central government will soon be covering 30% of the total cost in Seoul and 60% for other regions.
We are making up for a shortfall in the local government's revenues caused by last month's comprehensive real estate measures. We'll also ease their financial burden heightened by the free childcare services.
To make up for the shortfall in tax revenue caused by a cut in the home acquisition tax, the local governments will be allowed to increase their consumption tax. The consumption tax will gradually increase from the current 5% to 11% by 2015, which will create new revenues of about 2.6 trillion won, or roughly $2.2 billion. These measures are being met with great resistance from local governments, however, as they fall short of their original demands. The city of Seoul in particular said in a statement following the announcement that even with the new measures in place, it will need about $300 million to fund an expanded childcare program next year. Yoo Ji-hae, Arirang News.
For the fifth straight year, Korea held on to its place as the world's 15th largest economy by GDP in 2012.
The neighboring China, meanwhile, saw its economy grow nearly 85% during the 2008 to 2012 period to become the second largest economy in the world. Our Kim Min-ji reports.
The Korean economy ranked 15th in the world in terms of gross domestic product last year, accounting for 1.6% of the global economy. Korea's nominal GDP came to nearly $1.13 trillion in 2012, with its rank remaining unchanged for 5 straight years, according to data from the World Bank Wednesday. Asia's fourth largest economy ranked 11th in 2004, but fell steadily until it settled at 15th in 2008. Since then, the ranking has not changed, a situation the market watchers attribute to the fallout from the global financial crisis. The U.S. topped the World Bank list with $15.7 trillion, followed by China, Japan, Germany, and France. Meanwhile, China's economy grew almost 85% between 2008 and 2012. Its GDP last year was $8.36 trillion, 7 times larger than the Korean economy. During the same period, the emerging markets of Brazil and India moved up 2 notches each, while European countries suffering from economic recession such as Italy and Spain fell. The World Bank data also showed that Korea ranked 49th in terms of gross national income last year, moving up 4 notches from 2011. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
U.S. President Barack Obama extended an olive branch to Iran at the United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday and called for a diplomatic solution to the issues that divided 2 nations, namely Iran's nuclear program.
The Iranian leader took a conciliatory stance of his own in his speech, but our Yoo Ji-hae reports that challenges remain.
U.S. President Barack Obama said cautiously on Tuesday that the United States was ready to engage in diplomacy with its longtime foe, Iran. Addressing the annual gathering of world leaders at the United Nations, Obama welcomed recent overtures from Iranian President Hassan Rouhani, but challenged him to prove he is serious about pursuing a nuclear deal.
We are encouraged that President Rouhani received from the Iranian people a mandate to pursue a more moderate course. The roadblocks may prove to be too great, but I firmly believe the diplomatic path must be tested.
President Rouhani also told the UN General Assembly that Iran is willing to take part in immediate and results-oriented talks over its nuclear program.
Nuclear weapons and other weapons of mass destruction have no place in Iran's security and defense doctrine and contradict our fundamental religious and ethical convictions.
But it was just a handshake that never happened between the 2 leaders that underscored the difficulties that lie ahead. There was speculation that Presidents Obama and Rouhani might meet on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, but the 2 leaders never crossed paths. With regard to Syria, President Obama called on the UN Security Council for a strong resolution that would punish the Bashar al-Assad regime if it fails to turn over its chemical weapons. Yoo Ji-hae, Arirang News.
And staying with the UN General Assembly, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is scheduled to speak at the international gathering on Thursday, where he will reportedly pledge around $1 million to help female victims of sexual assault.
Many see this as a move to improve Japan's public image, which has recently been tainted by Abe's public denial of sexual slavery during World War II. But can Tokyo salvage its reputation and mend sour ties with Korea? Mr. Lee Myun-woo, Vice President of Sejong Institute, joins us here in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee, so why is Prime Minister Abe playing up these policies to improve women's rights at the UN General Assembly?
I think the main reason is, as just mentioned, it is to improve Japan's kind of, or decreased kind of, a public image, I think. And one episode I know is that probably well represented what they are thinking these days in Japan, especially those ultra-rightists in Japan. There is, say, about 2 weeks ago, so-called rightist citizens group announced their, let's say, their move to sue former Secretary General of the Cabinet, the Kono, who made that so-called Kono statement, because Mr. Kono is the main villain who is responsible for Japanese getting all those kind of criticism about this issue, a comfort warming issue, because he kind of acknowledged, his statement acknowledged that Japan did use kind of force, and there's use of force in that in the issue. So I think that is the main reason, one of the reasons that Prime Minister Abe is trying to deliver this kind of, speech and this kind of move, I think.
Right, it's a very interesting tactic. From what I know, the bulk of the $1 million is going to go to help women in conflict areas and natural disasters in Africa. So areas where Japan's hands are relatively clean in that regard. Do you think this measure is actually going to make much of a difference?
So what Prime Minister Abe or Japanese facing or are kind of directing their attention is that to the world, not to Korea or not to China or this Northeast Asia, but they are kind of dealing with not only with Northeastern Asia, but to the world, including Africa and region and others, I think.
Well, meanwhile, Japan recently proposed to register their industrial facilities as UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and this has sparked huge outcry and outrage here in Korea because some of those sites carry painful memories for Korean slave laborers, some of whom are still alive today. So will the proposal go through with the international community?
So this site has some bad kind of memories, and so unless the kind of thing, bad things has not been cleared out, then there's be some problems. So I hope there kind of a rise and rational kind of judgment on that, whether to pick that as a heritage.
Should the South Korean government do something about it?
So probably one of the best thing we can do is that to, let's say, propaganda that site really was, and and for kind of a promise, Japan need to, let's say, kind of apology or honestly acknowledge that what the site was. And
well, there seems to still exist a stalemate with our memories and our interpretations of the past between Korea and Japan. But how do you see the future looking in terms of our relations?
Unfortunately, for time being, two leaders of these two countries, Korea and Japan, they are very, in a sense, strong in their opinions, or they're kind of true, firm believers of what they believe. So it is hard to get some midpoint. But I think there are some midpoint. Since Japan argues that there is no evidence, we may go into seek or research the facts. Really, there was any evidence of use of force or that kind of thing. So I think that could be the real start for getting to the middle ground. And
right, Mr. Lee Myung-woo, Vice President of Sejong Institute, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Before your day ends and another begins, get the latest news live from Seoul.
Residents whose features restrictions is on the rise. Closing ceremony.
Expert analysis from Asia's heartbeat.
The legislature, circumstances.
With a viewpoint only Korea's global network can provide.
The United States, the latest report. Less than
unrivaled access from a team always on standby.
Meaning came on the news are trying to cover up the South's true intentions. Amid a flurry of signs that North Korea may be developing its nuclear technology, an emerging question is what's next? With some even predicting a possible fourth nuclear test, experts attending the ASEAN North Korea Conference 2013 here in Seoul on this Wednesday exchanged ideas on what to expect. Our Unification Ministry correspondent Hwang Sung-hee was there, and she filed this report.
Before going ahead with its fourth nuclear test, North Korea will try to showcase its improved nuclear capability, providing an opportunity for fresh negotiations. That's according to American arms control expert Joshua Pollack, who was speaking at the ASEAN North Korea conference in Seoul on Wednesday.
The next step, in my educated guess, would be to show us what analysts sometimes call the ground truth, to bring a trusted set of eyes inside the facilities so they can use them to bargain with us and to put pressure on us to come to the table more on their terms.
In April, the North announced the reboot of its facilities at Yangbyeon, and recent satellite imagery of the complex suggests steady progress has already been made. Pyongyang is believed to have doubled the floor size of its uranium enrichment plant and reactivated its plutonium production reactor. Dr. Marcus Schiller from Schmucker Technology says such developments are not an imminent threat, but rather a bargaining chip for the North.
There are so many things that can go wrong if you put this rocket on a launch site and prepare that for a launch as a nuclear attack against the United States, that I wouldn't bet anything on doing this. So if you ask me if it's technically capable, yes it is, but it's highly, highly unlikely that they will ever do that.
But considering North Korea's unpredictability, experts say the concerned parties should maintain their close cooperation on the situation.
Before the first North Korean nuclear test, the North Korean government informed China it was going to do a nuclear test. So I would say that there should be a lot of discussions among China, United States, and South Korea on how to assessing North Korea's nuclear weapon capability.
In any case, experts say dialogue may be the best way to go in tackling the current challenges with North Korea. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
Over in Pakistan, a strong earthquake hit the southwest of the nation on Tuesday afternoon, killing more than 250 people and injuring around 400 others. The 7.7 magnitude quake struck near Balochistan, the nation's largest but least populated province. Tremors were reportedly felt as far away as in the Indian capital of New Delhi, and the quake created a small island of about 40 square feet in the Arabian Sea off the coast of Gwadar. The Pakistani military has dispatched hundreds of soldiers to the area for rescue operations. Korea is preparing to host the 7th World Water Forum in April 2015, which will address issues of climate change, access to water, and sanitation. Our Chi Myung-gil took a trip to the southern city of Daegu to see how things are shaping up.
It's the world's largest meeting about water, and will be happening in the Korean cities of Daegu and Gyeongju in a little over a year. The forum will bring together interest groups from all over the world to tackle some of the major challenges facing countries around the world as they seek to preserve access to clean water.
The 7th World Water Forum will be held in April 2015. Water experts from around the world will gather for 1 week to find solutions to water shortage problems.
Participants will develop policy recommendations covering water security and how to sustain water-related ecosystems. Ahead of the forum, a group of local and foreign reporters gathered to learn about the preparations and toured a segment of the Nakdong River, which passes through the host city, Daegu. The river is part of Korea's Four Rivers Restoration Project, which was completed in 2011 and was aimed at preserving water resources, combating water scarcity, improving water quality, and restoring the river's ecosystem. I am standing in front of the Ark Cultural Center, which is located on the Nakdong River. The center was opened last year to commemorate the completion of the Four Rivers project and represents the architecture and artistry of river culture. The group learned about techniques for managing wastewater at a landfill located in Daegu. The leachate collected from the landfill is treated and recycled to indirect potable water using state-of-the-art technology. Methane in landfill gas is purified and used as an energy source for electricity generation.
Industrial and domestic wastewater will be recycled as potable water, and sludge generated during the wastewater treatment will also be recycled to methane gas and used as an energy source, just like the landfill site.
The Korean government expects that hosting the 7th World Water Forum will help Korea play a major role in water management and sustainable development. 지명길, Arirang News, Daegu.
LA Dodgers pitcher Yoo Ji-hae has picked up his 14th win of the season, cementing himself as a bona fide Rookie of the Year contender.
And Stephen Che joins us from the Sports Center to give us a rundown on his latest outing. Stephen.
Hey guys, the lofty lefty had another brilliant outing, picking up a much-deserved win and showing why he deserves to be the NL's top Rookie of the Year. Taking the mound against the San Francisco Giants Wednesday evening at AT&T Park, Ryu pitched 7 strong innings, giving up 4 hits, including 1 homer, while striking out 6 and walking 1. And this time he had support. Yasiel Puig and Matt Kemp both hit solo home runs, leading to the Dodgers' 2-1 victory. Ryu is 14-7 with 1 more start scheduled, comparable to Park Chan-ho's 14-8 first season as a starter, and hopes are high he'll bring this level of play into the postseason. And heading to the pitch, the K-League's FC Seoul and Iran's Esteghlal kicked off Wednesday night at Seoul's World Cup Stadium for the first leg of their AFC Champions League semifinal matchup. FC Seoul played with purpose in the first half, eventually scoring the go-ahead goal by their top scorer, Daeon. And Seoul kept the heat on as Koyoan netted 1 as soon as the second half whistle blew, going on to win 2-0. Now FC Seoul holds the advantage going into the second leg, scheduled for next week in Iran. And coming home, it's time for Wednesday's top KBO matchup. The LG Twins went head-to-head against the Hanwha Eagles in Daejeon. LG battling for first, Hanwha stuck in last, but the Eagles fly first. Bottom second, Lee Dae-soo scores a runner. Another comes in on a fielder's choice, and it's capped off by Ko Dong-jin, single to left, scoring E. It's 3-0 Hanwha. Now we go to the 6th. It's the Eagles' Chung Bum-mo single. Brings 1 home. The lead's extended to 4-0. Next inning, still Hanwha. It's Kim Tae-gyun up to the plate. He hits a 3-run shot to left, going over the wall right now. Scores are 7-0 Hanwha. And now the LG scores 1 more, but there's no rally. And the Eagles go on to win this one with a final score of 8-1. And looking at the scores from around the league, Kia defeats Lotte 7-1, NC defeats Nexon 1-0, and Samsung over SK 7-3. That does it for me here in the Sports Center. This has been Stephen Che. Check back at midnight for the latest in the world of sports.
Now let's go over to our Kim Bo-kyung at the Weather Center.
All right, Bo-kyung, hello. It definitely felt colder this morning compared to the past few days.
Yes, and morning temperatures should continue to drop in the days to come. So we're set for another sunny yet chilly autumn day tomorrow. Let's take a look at the satellite map for the details. The nation is under the influence of a high pressure system which is coming down from China. This is why we're seeing clear skies throughout the nation. Tomorrow there may be light rain in the east coast regions until early morning, but the rest of the nation should enjoy another day of clear skies. Morning lows around the nation should drop to the mid to high teens but rise in the afternoon. As it is easy to catch a cold due to a big temperature gap, please take care of your health. Now moving on to tomorrow's numbers. Seoul should make it to 23 degrees. Meanwhile, Daegu, Gwangju, and Busan should all hit 25. Moving on to other regions. Daejeon and Jeju should get up to 22 and 23 degrees respectively. And Mount Kumgang drops to 11 degrees. Well, that's all I have for you this hour. Have a wonderful evening and join me for another update after midnight.
And that's our broadcast on this Wednesday night. I'm Yoo Ji-hae in Seoul.
And I'm Sean Lim. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening. We'll see you soon.